Hello YouTube and welcome back to another Dare to Game video. Today we're playing Red Dead Online and we're going to be talking about the Blood Money update again. This time I'm going to be talking about what I think is all the bad stuff about this update. What's worth complaining about, you know? So last time my video that was related to Blood Money was actually talking about all the good things about this update. So if you want to see me not being, you know, I guess overly negative and pessimistic about something in a game that we're all playing, that's definitely the video for you. But today I just want to talk about where this update falls short, what could have been added, what opportunities they missed, or what things that were added that I consider to be stupid. Things that I think don't add value and really actually take away value from the game. So we're just going to dive on into that, but if you haven't already, definitely subscribe to the channel, because if you like this type of content, or this video in particular, there's more to come. So you subscribe, you get notifications. Well, of course, if you ring that bell. You get notifications and you can join me every day, and we'll talk about stuff. I'll show you stuff in the game. It's a lot of fun. So with all that in mind, let's just move on to kind of the first area that I want to discuss regarding this update. So the first area that I want to talk about is one that I think is going to be on most people's minds, and that's just that it did not add as much unique content as we're used to getting with the updates for this game. We wait a long time between updates. This time I think it was 7.5 months, and for that amount of time, I think most people expect some stuff to be added to the game. Unique items, I mean, things to spend our money and gold on, stuff that we've got quite a bit piled up, because it's not like we stopped playing for 7.5 months between updates. When I got this update, and I'm sure a lot of people, other people felt this way, I expected to see more things being added. One thing in particular that I was really hopeful for was new weapons, at least one new weapon, and we'll talk about that specific thing later. But just any in general would be one thing. And I don't mean a skin, because yeah, we got a weapon skin, and I like the weapon skin, but that's not the same thing as a totally new weapon for me to buy and try out and, you know, really get used to. See if it's even worth getting, you know, all that sort of stuff. And we, along with no new weapons, we also didn't get any new clothing, which is strange, because if you think about all the rest of the updates, or at least the bigger updates that we've gotten for this game so far, which are mostly role-based stuff, we got a lot of clothing added. You know, I know not everybody likes all of the clothing that was added with all the updates, myself included. I think a lot of it's over the top and stupid looking. At least there was something added, so if you really wanted to grind for some new stuff and get yourself some new clothing and maybe show off that you have the most ridiculous looking naturalist outfit, that was something that was added with those roles. So just in comparison to that, this update really didn't add anything like that. And lastly, I mean, horses and vehicles. I'm pretty used to the dead zone there for a couple reasons. One being, so we've already got a trader wagon that we can use for the trader role. It's not something you use in free roam. As far as free roam wagons go, there's the bounty wagon, which I almost never use, even though I do a lot of bounty hunting. I just find it cumbersome and difficult to use, so I don't enjoy using it. And then the hunting wagon, which is good if I decide that I want to do a bunch of hunting, but again, it's not something that I use super frequently. So I can understand them not really adding any new weapons, even though the obvious I think the thing that most people were waiting for as far as weapons go was going to be the armored war wagon that we've seen multiple times. I mean, it exists in the single player story. We've had to go up against it in legendary bounties. I think a lot of people have been kind of expecting that to be added at some point along the line, and this update seemed like, you know, the update for it, considering it's a criminal based update. And then I know a lot of people complain that we didn't get new horses. I mean, I would have preferred that we got them instead of not getting new horses, but I also think that the variety of horses in the game is already pretty high. Maybe if anything, I would like some new some new different coats and colors for some of the better breeds in the game, because some of the best breeds in the game, just stat-wise, have some of the worst looking coats. I know that's my opinion and not everybody will agree, but I like a lot of your standard full color coats. Like my favorite one in the game is the dark bay for the Turkoman. That's like the best coat in the game, and it only exists for that one horse. Now mind you, it's a good horse. The Turkoman's a good horse, but what if I wanted that on a thoroughbred or a Mustang or Missouri Foxtrot, or, you know, whatever. There's still some level of content that can be added as far as horses go without seeming pointless. But other than that, like I said, I don't really see the need for any more breeds to be added. But none were, so definitely another mark against the content volume here. The next thing I'd like to talk about is Guido Martelli, and so he's actually really interesting, and that first cutscene that starts out the DLC is entertaining and actually excited me for the type of content that might be involved in it, just because it was awesome seeing a supposed criminal mobster guy intimidating the police chief so much and totally having him under his thumb. So it speaks to potential corruption, or maybe just pure intimidation because they know these guys are dangerous. Whatever it is, that was cool. The only problem is after that initial cutscene, you literally never, ever, ever even talk to Guido Martelli again. I was expecting him to be a recurring character, someone that, I don't know, maybe you'd plan missions with, or he would give you your contract, or you would just have to discuss larger stuff with him, anything really. I was just expecting more interaction with Guido Martelli, and there is none. So that's definitely a bad thing about this update. So the next obvious thing to talk about are the missions that were added with the game, the main meat of it. And I already said in the video where I talked about the good things about it, I like these missions. I think they're fun to play. I think they offer decent enough rewards, I guess. They're very comparable to everything that was already in the game. So it's nothing groundbreaking, but it's not terribly insulting for the effort that you put into it. So, and that goes for money, gold, and XP. But I think they're fun to play, which I think is the big thing that a lot of us were hoping for. The downside is, though, they advertise this as the, initially we saw the 3 jewels being shown, and then right when we started off, Guido's talking about these 3 jewels, but for some reason, with the launch of this update, they only give us 1 of them. So we're just stuck here with the 1 opportunity mission, which, like I said, is fun, but it's not like you can just play the same mission over and over and over again and still enjoy it. At that point, you're just grinding for money, XP, or gold. So while the mission is fun, I'm kind of upset that we only got 1 added in initially. Considering it didn't include any super epic set pieces or any new assets being added into the game, because the train that you rob is just a regular train, the same train we've always had in the game. It's not a passenger train, which I think is what a lot of people wanted. So it doesn't add a lot to it. Even though it's fun, it's not infinitely replayable. I really wish at the very least they would have launched with all 3 of the jewel opportunities. So that's definitely another point against this update. Another con is I talked about the payouts briefly and said they're comparable to the payouts for other missions in the game, and that's true. So like I said, while it's not insulting, it is still decently low for what you're doing. So if you think about some of these missions where you're going in and killing a dozen people and robbing a house, and then you walk away with $30, that's normal for what we've done in the game before. I was expecting that. But the problem with that is it's an insulting low amount of money for 6 to 10 counts of murder and home burglary, breaking and entering, all that sort of stuff. It just, the reward does not match what you're doing. And that's one of the problems with online as a whole, but this update didn't change that, whereas it probably could have. Nowadays, we like to tell people crime doesn't pay, and for the most part it's true because we're really good at catching criminals, and it's hard to get away with crime. Back in the Old West, it was just shockingly easy to get away with crime by our standards today. There's a reason we had so many criminals back then, and it's because crime did pay. As much as we don't like to tell people that, back then it did pay. Now, mind you, a lot of criminals were just inherently idiots, so in the end they would end up getting themselves caught because either A, they don't know when to quit, or B, they just let themselves get seen all the time or carve their name into every bank they rob. Whatever stupid thing they did that got them caught. Crime did pay. These people would get away with giant lump sums of money for doing their crimes. Otherwise, why would they take the risk and do them? So that's something that this mod has not addressed. The payouts are still very, very small if you're thinking about what you did realistically. So that's another thing that I was pretty disappointed about with this mod. Next, I want to talk about Capitale, and I'm sure everyone's sick of hearing that word. I think in my positive things about the video, I said the word Capitale probably, 6 dozen times, but this mod definitely inspires that type of behavior. But in any case, currently, I think the Capitale system is a cash grab. I think that's all it is. It's just a artificial wall to make sure that you can't replay the one really fun mission that was added with this update, so you got to keep playing the other ones. Or I'm sure Rockstar's hoping that you're just going to fork out some gold to buy some more Capitale, because you totally can. You can go buy it from the fence. In a way, it could be their attempt to try and drive sales, which I get, because a game like this needs to be operated like a business, and they can only put so much work into it as they get paid for. And while that's kind of a vicious cycle that both sides are waiting for the other side to do their part first, it is the system that multiplayer games like this encourage. So I think that the Capitale system is just entirely a cash grab, because I don't think it adds any content. There's nothing you can buy with the Capitale. There's no exclusive blood money content that is the currency for, so I don't think it actually adds any value to the game. So on the whole, as it is right now, I think it is a non-value added thing, and it shouldn't have been included in its current state. And just to add on top of that, you can actually only store up to 50 Capitale, which I find very, very dumb. I think this is probably Rockstar's way of trying to hedge their bets against people like me who play games like this and then make videos showing people the best way to do something. So there's currently a way to quickly get Capitale. It's by playing the railroad contract, I should say. And you do the first 2 missions, and then on the 3rd mission, you just go and kill the main target guy and loot the Capitale from him. Then you fail the mission and you can restart it, and you can make tons of Capitale very quickly. I think that their limit of being able to only hold up to 50 Capitale is designed specifically to prevent players from just stockpiling a ton of it very quickly. Again, like I said, to hopefully encourage players to pay for Capitale to skip the grind. So I think that's stupid. I think that if we're going to have this semi-exclusive currency at all, it should not have a limit for how much you can stack. We should be able to stack thousands of it in our inventory if we so choose. So, like I said, that's another thing that I think is really dumb about this update. And then just, I've got some rapid fire things that I want to complain about regarding this mod. One is that no bank robberies were added, and maybe that's something they plan to include in future updates. Like I said in my positive video, I don't think it's going to be another 7 months before we get another update. I think the plan is to have updates every couple of weeks, just adding smaller amounts of content, kind of like the amount that we got in this one, which I think is probably a better system, as it'll keep people interested for longer periods of time, but it's also an aggravating system because those of us that have been waiting for 7 months wanted more all at once. But in any case, I am upset that we can't rob banks. With all the reports that there were, like, people were starting to be able to get into banks that have always been closed in Red Dead Online, I think a lot of people were expecting that, and I was definitely one of them, and I'm pretty upset that it's not an option. Another thing is something I already mentioned earlier in the video, that yes, there's technically a train robbery added into the game now, even though it's not dynamic. It's actually a set piece. It's not in the open world. And I think more stuff should be in the open world because then it's more fun to interact with. But it's still just a cargo train. They have passenger trains in the single player mode, and you can rob them in the single player mode. There's people that you can individually rob in there, or I guess kill if you wanted to, and then there's a safe on every train. That's fun. It's something I do all the time in the story mode because it's very enjoyable to do. And it's super iconic and Wild Westy. I know a lot of people wanted that in this update, so I can't be the only one that's upset that passenger trains were not added as a robbable feature. Then the biggest thing that I think people expected out of this and were really hoping for was GTA-style heists. It's literally the first thing that made GTA Online actually a fun game to play, and it makes so much sense to have something like that in this game, just because we're criminals. That's literally what we do, and there's so many things that could be heisted. In fact, they do some level of it in the single-player story enough times to know that I know Rockstar knows exactly what I'm talking about. So I can't be the only one that was expecting, or at least hoping for GTA-style heists, and I know I'm not the only one that was disappointed that they weren't added. And then, of course, just an extension of everything I've been talking about, they haven't added the ability to rob NPCs at gunpoint, whether they're store owners or just people walking the street. Again, this is a feature that's fully implemented in the single player story. So I just can't wrap my head around why it's not in online. It cannot be that hard to implement it. You legitimately, like I said, it's in the story already. I don't know why it's not in online. It definitely should have been added with this mod because it's a criminal-based mod, and that's like one of the most basic criminal activities you can have is mugging someone at gunpoint. And then lastly, I know this was never promised or even hinted at in any of the trailers or any of their promotional material or blog posts or anything like that, but yet again, they have not added any sort of ownable property or player homes or any of that, which is probably the most requested thing I've seen from literally every person that plays this game is some form of property management. There's a lot of people out there that, or I should say property ownership. There's a lot of people that want to own their own ranch and do ranch type activities. There's a lot of people that just want to be able to display all their cool stuff. And of course, there's a lot of people that just want something to spend their money on. Property management definitely would have addressed most of those concerns. And considering, again, it's something that already exists in the single player game with people being able to purchase materials out of a catalog and then build their house on a pre-selected plot of land, I, again, don't think it would be hard to accomplish, especially if you consider, even if you didn't want to go the building your own house route, there are tons of houses just all over the map, whether they're out in the country, there's ranches scattered all over country houses, but there's also tons of houses in towns like this are either you're not able to go into them, or even if you can, there's nothing significant about them suggesting who owns them. Yeah, I'm sure Caliga Hall and Braithwaite Manor shouldn't be something that you can purchase, but that doesn't mean any of the nicer houses in Saint Denis can't be, as long as they're not the main mob bad guys, someone that we already know lives there. That seems like a decently simple thing to add, and I really think they should, and I think a lot of people agree with me. Just on a personal note past that, I think the coolest way for that to be an option would be for Shady Belle, that really run-down mansion from the Civil War era that you spend some time at in the single-player story. That would be a really cool property to be able to purchase and upgrade, and they could lock the upgrades behind a decently high paywall, and I think a lot of people would grind for that. So if they wanted to add content that would get people playing the game and playing it a lot more again, kind of like it hasn't been for like 2 or 3 years. I think that would be a great way to do it. But so that's really all the gripes I have about this update. I think that, like I said, I think the missions are fun, and I'm glad they added something to it. And there's a couple things in the Quick Draw Pass that I liked as far as clothing goes. Outside of that, I don't think this update added as much as most people were hoping for or even expecting. So that's where I'm going to end today's video. I think I've done my daily limit of complaining. So if you have anything that you were also expecting or really hoping for, or anything that was added that you hate for this update, definitely let me know down in the comment section. And if you haven't already, like I said at the beginning, definitely subscribe to the channel and ring that bell so you can get updates when I release videos in the future. But in any case, thanks for watching and have a nice day, and we'll see you next time. Thanks for watching another Dare to Game video. If you liked this video, please leave a like and a comment. If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to the channel. If you like my content and would like to support this channel, consider becoming a member today for as little as $1.99 a month. It makes a huge difference. But in any case, thanks for watching and have a nice day. I'll see you next time.